Hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in a feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow any feelings of tension or stress to gradually leave in your outward breath. And each time you breathe, just aim to breathe slightly deeper on that inward breath. Even if it's just by 1%, taking a slightly deeper breath in and then exhaling on the outward breath, allowing your body to release increasing amounts of tension. That's right. And I want you to notice that as you breathe in that feeling of relaxation and release that tension, your body starts to relax, as it would do. In fact, on the next breath, as you breathe in, so long as it's safe to do so, on the outward breath, just allow your eyelids to close. Because as your eyes close, your imagination becomes more activated. It's the same as when someone loses one sense, the other senses become more attuned and more aware. If someone goes blind, their hearing, their sense of touch, has to develop at a higher level to compensate. So as you close your eyes, don't be surprised if your imagination becomes more vivid, more accurate, and that imagination will enable you to travel to places in your mind that you wouldn't be able to travel in reality. That's it. Deeper and deeper relax as you breathe in and breathe out. That's it, going deeper and deeper. Relaxed now. That's right. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine that you are in a relaxing place. And I want you to imagine that you are by a lake. And I want you to imagine it's on a sunny day. Use the power of your imagination to imagine that you are on the shore near the lake. And I want you to see the stillness of that lake. Breathe in that fresh, clean air that tends to be around outside in nature where there's a lake. Breathing in that fresh air and again exhaling any tension. Enabling you to go deeper and deeper relaxed. That's it. I want you to see the stillness of the lake and start to imagine what it would be like for your mind to be as still as the surface of the lake. Because sometimes your mind can be incredibly active, thoughts going from left to right, thinking about what you need to do, what you could do, memories, ideas for the future. And I want you to imagine when you're thinking like that, imagine choppy water on the lake. But as you see the stillness of the lake, I want you to get a sense that your mind is becoming still. And just imagine with that still mind, you're able to now purposely choose your thoughts to enable you to consider a future where you have one particular resource in higher levels. But before we go into the future, I want you to think for a moment about the past. And I want you to think of a time when you were at your most persistent and determined. And there may be one moment more than any others, that you had that quality in huge amounts. And I want you to think back. But in order to go back to that memory, we're not just going to think of that memory. We're going to travel to that memory. But first of all, think of that time, a specific time, when you had more determination, more persistence than any other time. And it may be that you've already thought of a memory, or it may be that you have just planted a seed of an idea and your unconscious will lead you to that memory. And I want you to imagine there you are standing by the side of that very still lake, and you're about to float up out of your body, almost like you're having an out-of-body experience. And let's try that. Just imagine that you're floating up out of your body, just in your imagination, and you can see yourself beneath you, still standing there by the side of that still lake. Continue to float up and up, knowing that your physical body is underneath and it's just your imagination that is floating. And allow your imagination to travel backwards in time. Go back to that point in time when you had more determination, more persistence than any other time. I want you to think of that moment when nothing was going to stop you. And perhaps back then, as you're traveling to that memory, you can remember that there was setback after setback, challenge and then problem, and yet it did not dampen your determination or enthusiasm to keep moving forward, to keep pursuing that particular goal. And I don't want you to go back to the point in the memory where you've achieved whatever it was that you were setting out to achieve. I want you to go back to the point when you had just experienced a setback and still had the fire in your belly. You still had that determination, that desire, that relentless spirit to keep pursuing that goal, even in the face of adversity. And I want you to travel back, all the way back to that memory, seeing yourself as if you're someone else. And it may be a memory that you haven't thought of for a very long time, but here you are, seeing yourself like you're someone else, and it's a younger version of you, but you know that in that moment, you had that quality that is a desirable quality of persistence, determination, a relentless force of nature to go forward and still pursue what you want to pursue. That's right. See yourself, and I want you to mimic the facial expressions. Mimic the breathing. If you're breathing deeply and relaxed when you are there in that relentless, determined mood, again, breathe slowly and deeply. If you were breathing faster back then, now increase the rate of your breathing so you're breathing faster. If there is relaxation in the neck and the shoulders, allow your body to relax. And if it was more tense, then tense your body. But mimic how you were back then, and then imagine stepping into that version of you. And feel how you felt back then, in that moment when you had that relentless determination and persistence. Perhaps you can recall the thoughts going around in your mind. Perhaps these thoughts were in a dialogue. Nothing is going to stop me. This is just a temporary setback. I will achieve that outcome, that goal. And notice the tonality of that inner dialogue. When you are in that relentless, determined state, notice the tonality of what you say to yourself. Notice where you feel that determination. It may be in the chest, in the heart, maybe in the gut, it may be in the head, but get a sense of where you feel that quality, that resourceful state. Hone into it and imagine amplifying it, making it bigger. And notice if it feels like it's moving or spinning. And if it does, just make it spin even faster, almost like the revolutions of a car engine. Just imagine revving it up so the revs per minute increase, so you feel more of that quality than you even did when you had it at the highest level. That's right, increasing that determination, that persistence, that feeling of relentlessness. That's it. Notice the inner dialogue, the tonality, the posture, the breathing. There is no doubt in your mind whatsoever. Even after you face setback and adversity, you are still more determined than you were before. It's almost as if the setbacks create more fuel to enable you to become even more determined. What may stop someone else in their tracks actually made you even more determined than you were before. And tap into that sensation. And I want you to create some kind of posture or expression or trigger so that you can get into this state whenever you want. And it might just be how you stand, how you breathe. It might even be a phrase. Nothing will stop me. I will achieve. You decide on the phrase for you and the tonality that you say to yourself. And you could choose to clench your fist at the very point where you're saying that, or just enable you to have a very specific posture or movement to enable you to access this state whenever you need it. And when you feel like you've tapped into and anchored and harnessed that feeling of relentless determination, it's now time to go back to the lake. And let's go back there. Imagine floating up out of that previous version, that memory that you were just in, floating up, going back inside that body of you, standing out, looking out over that still lake. That's right. And as you look at the still lake, breathe in that fresh, clean air and allow your body to relax. Going deeper and deeper, relaxed. That's right. And now I want you to think of a character perhaps in a book or a movie that had this relentless determination and persistence. Now I don't know if you will think of characters like the Terminator, or like Rocky, or perhaps like Bilbo Baggins from The Lord of the Rings. I want you to recall a character that even when there was setback after setback, challenge after challenge, adversity upon adversity, they continued because they had a clear purpose and mission as to what they were achieving. And as you look out on that still lake, I want you to imagine that you are able to picture a ginormous cinema screen there above the lake. And I want you to see whichever character you perceive to have that relentless determination there filling the sky, hovering above the lake and filling the sky. And I want you to see that character in a scene where they are more determined, more relentlessly persistent than any other scene. And you're just standing there by the lake seeing this ginormous hallucination of a cinema screen and seeing that character that has that relentless determination. But before we tap into that resource, I want you to think of a goal that is bigger than any other goal that you have set for yourself right now. Perhaps an unbelievably big goal. Perhaps something that you know is incredibly aspirational, so appealing for you, but there's a part of you that doubts if you could ever achieve it. Once you've decided on what it is, that thing that would just blow your mind if you were able to achieve it, then I want you to look back up at that screen and just think that if you had that relentless determination and persistence of that time in your past when you had it in abundance, and you could extract it from this character on this hallucinogenic screen above the lake, I want you to suspend any doubt momentarily and just explore whether or not having this quality would increase the probability of you achieving that outcome. Because there are no guarantees in life, but you have to be in it to win it. And when people dabble in goals, they try. Quite often this creates a self-fulfilling prophecy that, because they went in it in a very tentative manner, then when things don't work out, it proves that they weren't cut out for that particular goal. But what if you attacked this goal? You pursued this goal with the same level of intensity and energy that you have in the past, and these characters, or this character that you see on this giant screen above a lake, has in abundance. Suspend any doubt and disbelief and entertain the possibility that this goal is possible for you, and with this relentless determination you can activate the very qualities needed to increase the probability to get there. And as your unconscious mind accepts that suggestion, now float up from the side of the lake into the screen, into that character that is more determined, more persistent, more relentless than any other character at any other time. Hone into it, tap into that quality. That's it. And again, feel how good it feels to have that absolute relentless focus and determination. Notice where you feel it. Notice how it feels. And again, check for any inner dialogue, any clues, muscle tension, breathing rate, as to what it would be like if you had this quality. And you do have this quality. Now, that's it. Extract and absorb this quality from that character into you. Feel like it is integrating, like you are downloading the very strategies and resources from this character into you, and now you have that relentless determination and persistence. That's right. And now I want you to go back to the lake, but still seeing that giant screen above the lake. But now I want you to see yourself, the relentlessly determined and persistent version of you, pursuing the very goal that you just considered. See what you're doing. See how you're doing it. And I want you to see setback after setback, knockback, adversity, challenges, and yet each and every setback makes you more determined, more persistent than the time before. Sometimes you may have seen these superhero movies or cartoons where the villain, or perhaps even the hero, can take the energy from their attacker and absorb it, and then it becomes an advantage for them. I want you to entertain the idea that with this state of relentless persistence, every challenge and setback makes you more determined than you were before. See yourself on that giant screen, achieving, accomplishing, going 2 steps forward but then 2 steps back, making progress and then experiencing a temporary failure. But see how you are on that giant screen, where every failure is giving you feedback, opportunities for reflection, opportunities to consider your different approaches, and then see a huge amounts of resilience and determination and action to then make progress in that very area. Notice that as you become more relentless, more determined, suddenly everyone around you accepts that this is almost like a foregone conclusion, that because you've already achieved it in your mind, you're just waiting for time and reality to catch up with your concept and your inner belief. Many athletes that have won gold medals have said that they saw it in their mind before they achieved it in reality. And this is now you. You are seeing it in your mind, seeing you achieve this outcome, but knowing that it won't be easy actually fuels even more relentless persistence and determination, so that when you experience these setbacks, you are waiting for them. You are embracing them. You knew this wouldn't be easy, but actually, that's what's going to make it so satisfying. And then finally, see yourself finally achieving this goal. And notice from your facial expression that all of the challenges and setbacks and hard work makes it all the more satisfying and giving you a sense of accomplishment. Because if it was easy and it was just given to you on a plate, it wouldn't have had the same value that it did because of that adversity and challenge on the way. And when you see yourself experiencing that goal, imagine floating into that memory and feel how good it feels to have that victory, that satisfaction, that accomplishment. Feel how good it feels, but only temporary, just to get you a taste of what you will experience in the future, and then go back to the lake. But notice that when you have that inner dialogue saying that you will have this, nothing will stop me. Notice that it activates that feeling of relentless determination and persistence, and you feel ready for anything. And then you recall that you aren't actually by a lake. You are where you are, listening to my voice, and this is simply a dream within a dream, a thought within a thought. And in a few moments' time, I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, but you will awaken feeling relentless, feeling determined, feeling that you have that persistence, that nothing, absolutely nothing, will stop you from pursuing whatever it is that you want to pursue. You will awaken feeling highly resourceful and full of self-belief and a conviction that this simply will happen for you and nothing will stop you. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.